We held a meeting at Sacred Heart Church yesterday, Sunday, January 12th, and the turnout was huge. We thought maybe we'd get 5 or 10 people, but there was close to 50 people there, and some brought their kids as well. And it was a great meeting just for everyone to sort of talk about how the changes from Fairview on Friday made them and their children feel, and how they would like to turn those feelings into action and into concrete things that can help not just their children but the whole community as well, to not allow the corporation or the system to decide what is best for their children, but to for us as a community and family to rise up and to help make those decisions as well.
Friday I go to pick up my son, and he's just standing there not wanting to leave school, and he says something's wrong. I'm not in Miss Gwynn's class anymore. I said, well, sure, you know, surely that's not. He's like, no, Mom, there's something wrong. And I was reassured. The social worker was very sweet, and she said, you know, he's at or above reading level, so he's okay. He's in a new class. So I'm like, this is so strange. And so we went back into the school. I saw teachers visibly upset, my son and many other students visibly upset, and I'm very concerned. How to make such a life-changing decision like that with no input from parents, little to no input from teachers is just not humane, if anything. I mean, we're social beings, we're not test scores.
I'm here today because my 3rd grader got put in 1st grade for being dyslexia. So he's had a hard time. His life's been upside down since then, and he doesn't want to go back to school as a 1st grader. That's why we're here.
So what do you hope this will accomplish?
Every kid get back to their class and their normal lives.
The thing that upset me was hearing that other kids were coming home crying, and for us that's a big deal because we're part of a community. It's not just about my children and how they feel, but it's about those people that don't have voices in the community because they have to work 2, 3, 4 jobs and don't have time to come to meetings. So for us, the big thing is speaking up for all the people in the community that maybe don't have a voice and are on the margins.
We have really 2 goals that we want to meet with the administration about. One is to restore our kids' classrooms. Our kids were so upset on Friday, and they really need stability. These are kids that should not be subjected to major changes overnight. The teachers were only told the day before that this was going to happen. There was a complete lack of inclusion of the Fairview community, and it really needs to be collaborative and not coercive. I think we all have issues that we feel need to be addressed for education, but it really needs to happen by restoring our current order and really then having a collaborative process for teachers and families and administration to talk about the educational needs for Fairview students and how to address them. And then we can implement it in the next school year. But right now we need to stay the course. We've got a lot of great things at Fairview. We've got the Strings Academy, we've got Artful Learning, we've got a lot of good stuff that's going on that the test scores just aren't going to reflect. Our kids are more than test scores.
So how will these changes affect Artful Learning and the other curriculum activities?
Well, right now, as I understand it, it's just really going to be difficult to implement the Artful Learning. Artful Learning is a curriculum that's meant to be woven throughout the day through different subjects. Right now, it's a 45-minute session that's only for kids that are performing at or above grade level. Kids that are below grade level will not be getting any Artful Learning. They will be practicing reading all day. That's my understanding. And so Artful Learning really needs to be understood for what it is and implemented appropriately, and then I can see some real results. It really just hasn't been given a chance to take root yet because it's just been in its infancy, and you have to be patient with progress. And certainly with a change in administration, we had a new principal at the beginning of this school year who left in November. We've had another new principal. With those kind of administrative upheavals, we need to get back on track with the Artful Learning so we can really make it benefit our community and work in the long term.
I want to try to separate this really kind of in 2 parts, and I know you have a lot of questions, but I kind of want to preface it by this. I want you to separate the poor rollout of this, okay, from what we're actually doing. I'm going to ask you to do that. I'm going to talk with you a little bit about the rollout and how this was going to be put together. And I have to honestly say I apologize to you, each and every one of you. I've talked with a number of you. I've received emails. You're absolutely right. I'm not happy with the rollout, but I'm the only one that can take the blame. The weather did us in, the timing did us in, the time that we needed to start working with children did us in, and we didn't do a good job. And I'm going to be the first to admit that, and I am going to take that blame. So please, I do apologize for that. I wish we had more time to do that, and we didn't do a good job. hopefully in the future, and I know we will in the future, do a much better job, because hopefully we'll have a partnership. A lot of you have talked with me about really great insight into some suggestions, and I appreciate that. I was out in the community, both at the North and South Game Friday, at some IU events Saturday, and saw a lot of people who talked with me about Fairview and having their children there. But the bottom line is, I understand, and you are absolutely right on the rollout of this, and I will take full responsibility for that. The other piece of it, and that is meeting the children at each of their need levels, is one that we've used in many. In fact, we're using that in most of our elementaries, because that's what good teaching is all about, is meeting the children at their level and trying to maximize their potential. That's what this is all about. So I wanted to explain that. I want you to understand, I appreciate your input to me. It's very well taken, and you're absolutely right in terms of the timing. There's no doubt about it.
We want the classes restored. We want order back in the school and consistency. The next thing that we want is for students, or for the teachers and the parents and the school and the administration to work collaboratively on establishing what would be a good plan. You've talked about a lot of data and not given us any sources. I'm suspicious of some of the numbers that have been quoted in the Herald Times, and the information that Tammy Miller presented in her letter to parents after the fact. I think the communication issue is a huge issue, and it's not something that you can just apologize for and sweep under the rug. It's disrespectful, and there's been a history of it since the beginning of this year, of this school year. There's been a history of poor communication, a seeming unwillingness to engage parents in any processes, and just disrespect. And I don't think these things would fly at another school, and I think that the high poverty rate has something to do with that at Fairview, that this administration thinks that they can get away with that because people aren't paying attention. And we're here to tell you that we're paying attention and that it matters to us, and we want this stopped. So here's our...
That's a written petition. It's a version of the online. We have probably over 100 signatures now of people who feel very committed to the request that we have on there, which is to roll back this current changeover that is just too drastic and too much for our kids to deal with right now. There's a lot of great things going on at Fairview that we feel are not being appropriately leveraged, and if there's a discussion with teachers and parents to collaboratively produce a plan, those strengths can be leveraged more effectively.
I heard the parents had or the teachers had a one-day notice of this change. They're the ones teaching our children. How can this be? How can a teacher who has to come to school and be prepared to teach my child and all these other parents' children have a one-day notice that they're going to have a complete upheaval? My child comes home from school on Friday very upset that everything has changed, in tears. Why is this okay? Why do we not have any notice ahead of time?
Well, and again, I take full responsibility for that.
It's not okay.
The rollout of this, the weather did do us in.
It doesn't matter. We could have had an email. The weather doesn't matter on emails. You guys could have given us some notice.
Yes.
This is no way to treat us and our children.
There was an entire summer to plan for this change.
Whole
There was
year.
a new administration.
You know, this is not the time to do it in the middle of a semester, in the middle of school.
Mine's not in school
that-
today.
I'm very
He's
upset
in third
about
grade.
this.
They sent him to first for dyslexia. It's not going to happen with me.
And is this an interim principal, or is this a principal? Because my understanding with interims is that they hold the fort until the new principal comes and makes changes. So I'm confused, is this the interim principal, or is this our principal?
Yes, Mrs. Miller will be there through the rest of
next
this
year.
school year.
Then how can she make a change?
And
with
then
this?
we'll be advertising for another principal.
So she's temporary.
And there
That
will
is
be
correct.
another
Okay.
change.
Right.
Right. We have to absorb that as
That's not
well.
acceptable.
How resilient do you think we are? Do you really think that Fairview parents are going to continue sending their kids to a school
No.
where there's upheaval all the time?
There's many of us that could take
She
our
wouldn't even
kids
call
out.
me back at all. So what kind of principal is that? I can't communicate with her. Social worker called me back and said, he's improved 10 times better than he did last year, so why is he in first?
Something that we would like is what was used, what measurement was used to group students by ability. What evidence do you have that that's even an effective model? Because it's pretty outdated. It used to be called tracking.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that we don't do that anymore. I mean, it happens in poor schools because you can get away with it and it looks like a really good reform, but I don't think there's a lot of evidence that shows that it's effective. I think there's a lot of evidence that shows that it actually has the opposite effect that you're trying to achieve.
You know, what about self-esteem for students? If you're going to separate them and have a line and you're the accelerated class and you're the behind class, how are the kids in the behind class going to feel?
Yeah, it's all classes, it's not grades no more, but in reality, kids know what first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth is. They know that. They're not dumb. So when he goes to first grade, like he did Friday at 3:15, he cried. Third graders were saying, "Oh, you're in first now, ha ha." That's actually a form of child abuse.
They're not
Stigma sticks with the student throughout their academic
career. And he came home crying.
It follows them on into junior high and into high school.
I'm not doing it.
And I think that's probably because the teacher was teaching at the first semester, first grade. Is that why you're saying that?
No, I'm saying he's been there 5 years because he started at preschool there. He's a third grader.
Right.
When he got 3:15, when he got shifted to first grade because of dyslexia, there was kids in this class, and although in another class too, ha ha, you went down to first grade, now you're a first grader. That, I'm not putting him through that, no way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and we're not moving them into first grade.
No, but everybody, it's not classes.
They
kids
are.
know first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. They're
Who are
not
his
dumb.
peers?
He's going to eat with the first graders and go to recess with the first graders. That's not going to happen.
No, he should be in school with his friends. He's been in class with his friends all year. He should be
And
with
I
his
will
friends
pull
all
him
year.
out.
There is no reason
I
that
told
they
Miss
should
Miller
change our
that.
kids in the middle of year and not tell us anything. That is wrong.
Thank you.
And if you guys knew this was coming, why didn't you tell us?
I just think it should be restored till the end of the year, back to, and their lives are upside down. I didn't send it today. He
You know,
cried. He begged me.
If
I'm
they
not.
come in tears home, why are they going to want to go back to school? There's something wrong there.
And if, you know, as you all know, our children feed off of adults and how we react. So if they give a
better reaction if you had told them the day before instead they were crying. So of course your kids were crying as well.
And what I'm trying to
It's
say
kids.
is, if they came home crying, I, again, apologize.
It's safe.
When I apologize to my kids, I don't just apologize, I then change my actions. Because
do
I
something
say,
about it.
I was wrong, what can I do to fix this? And the thing that you can do to fix this, because you've apologized to us, what you can do to fix this is to change things back to the way they were, allow us and the teachers in the conversation,
Yes.
and then we can all decide together what's best for our kids in the summer,
Yes.
for the fall.
They have more
That's what you
time.
can do to allow the apology to be changed. And you can do it because you were,
And
you guys are
understand.
masterminds.
If
You
you're
guys can do-
apologizing, you're saying you're wrong.
if you can change
So
things
fix what
mid-year,
did
you
wrong.
could obviously stop things right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
The only, again, trying to separate both sides of this, the only downside to that is we only have through May with these children. And we are trying to make sure we fill the gaps and make sure that they are proficient at the kinds of things that they need help with. And that's what this plan is all about, is to make sure that kids really achieve at their very highest level. And the meetings that we'll have in the evening, you know, we will go through, I will have Mrs. Miller go through the information that we use to pull together, that we are using to look at children across the district to make sure we are meeting each of the children's needs. It's really looking at each child and how do we match the needs of that child and really work with them on the gaps.
My daughter's a 6th grader and an English language learning student. She's now with 4th and 5th graders. And I inquired with her teachers at Fairview this weekend what her schedule looks like, since that wasn't sent home. It was just that generic letter that was sent home. And I was provided with her schedule. I was told what her schedule was. And because she's now in a class being taught by a teacher with children that are reading below grade level, my child is not getting science, social studies, or artful learning.
Yeah.
And the problem, I have lots of problems with that, but the biggest problem I have for my child and others in the same situation is that she's getting ready to take a 6th grade I-STEP test that you all require. And now you're not giving my child science. It's outrageous. You want her to sit when she already struggles with the English language. You want her to sit and take a test and expect her to do well on it when you haven't been giving her any science curriculum? It's outrageous. I'm speaking about my child not getting science and social studies and artful learning.
Okay, and what we're trying to do is blend those into the reading piece. So using those areas to help reinforce reading is an important piece.
The special education teacher that my child now has knows the 6th grade curriculum, knows the 4th grade curriculum, knows the 4th and 5th and 6th grade curriculum, and can actually specifically teach my child what you're testing her on in a couple of months. That's all going to be implemented throughout the day.
I suspect they need a little more time to prepare.
With a 1 day's notice.
Absolutely, and that's what we're asking. Take a step back, reevaluate this, include parents, include our teachers. These teachers, I mean, we opted into Fairview by open enrollment because we loved at that time the Fairview community, the parents, the teacher, the administration at that time. They love and support their kids. Our kids, they want to be there. You know, you don't get that. You don't get that everywhere. And they have a really tough job.
Yes, they do.
And it's really disturbing. It's just really disturbing that these decisions, you know, that you talk about a crisis, but did not include us.
You know, a lot of people choose to send their kids to Fairview. A lot of them will pull them from Fairview.
I know 8 that will leave
because people will be unhappy. A lot of people send their kids to school at Fairview because of the Artful Learning program itself is offering something different. That is sometimes the only reason we're there. These kids would be going to different schools, and so what are you going to do? You're going to do a brain drain, and then who's going to be left?
Nobody.
The ones who don't have the option to drive their kids to a different school.
And if I could reiterate the Artful Learning piece, the Artful Learning is continuing. In fact, I know.
But how do we know that Mrs. Miller knows anything about it?
She wouldn't talk to us.
Is what we want to know. Does she know about it?
She didn't come to the meeting
From
tonight
a
until
discussion that I've had with a teacher, Artful Learning is not taking the lead here. In fact, Artful Learning has been, the teachers have been instructed that, you know what, get that in any way you can.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing. You can work that into your schedule.
That's not correct.
No. That's what they're telling us. From what I understand, the principal had a meeting with all the teachers.
Yes, and
I've already talked to 3 or 4.
Artful Learning is a priority, and a very important priority.
Is it a priority because it sounds good, or is it a priority because you believe it works?
No, we believe it works.
Well, then why don't you let us finish it? Let us do it.
And we are. The Artful Learning piece is still intact. There's no doubt
One
about
of the
that.
main bases for the Artful Learning is for each classroom to have a masterwork. Can you sit here and tell me what the masterworks are for the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders? Because they don't have one.
No.
They haven't had one all year. The only classes that have one are 6th graders this year, and that's because there were 2 6th grade teachers who decided, you know, to do it. And the rest of them were basically, I mean, now my daughter who's in 6th grade is in a different classroom with a teacher that has had no professional development on Artful Learning. So tell me how she's going to be doing Artful Learning for the rest of the year.
Well, if the children didn't have their masterworks in the 1st semester, that's not correct. We should be doing that, and we should have been doing that.
Okay, but you should know that because that's the main basis for Artful Learning is having a masterwork. And you know, I'm not trying to be rude about it, but you should know. Miss Miller should know that that is one of the main bases for Artful Learning, and it's not happening. So how can you stand here and tell this entire group that it's happening when it is in fact not?
Well,
I have been here since kindergarten. I was here when they started it. I've went to the programs. I've sat in on meetings. It's not working. It's not happening. You've been allowing, or someone's being allowed, it's not being implemented. They're being told that they have about 45 minutes in the day to teach Artful Learning. Artful Learning is supposed to be like the forum, the basis for way the whole day is created. It's supposed to be created around it, and that's not happening. I know for a fact that the teachers haven't even gotten their last professional development classes on it, and that's been held up, I believe, by the administration. So I could be wrong on that, but you know, I know that it hasn't happened. So, you know, please tell them all what's being done about Artful Learning.
Dr. DeMuth, how long have you been in your position now? 3 years?
Yes.
So it's Edgewood.
And we've been working to build our community at Fairview for over 7 years. Ms. Harris and I have both been there for 7 years, and I'm sure several other people have as well. And what you have effectively done with Ms. Miller's hands is to chop down everything that we have worked for all of these years. We strive to be a community-oriented school where we have parental input in the decision-making process. And this has erased everything that we have worked toward for all these years. I'm very disappointed to see that this has happened, and I propose that Tammy Miller leave our school.
Yeah.
We are fine with that.
No leader at all than to have a leader who feels that we are just pawns in your game.
And she actually told the parent to leave if they didn't like it.
All of our outside enrollees that have come from out of district, they're not coming back.
There's 8 of them leaving.
We have worked for socioeconomic diversity in our school. This is what we have achieved.
And the thing is, you guys have districted it so that Fairview does have the core of the, lower socioeconomic level class. Why is that okay as well? Like, why is it okay that so many of the kids at the school are on, a free lunch or reduced lunch program?
Right, this is segregation.
When you've got other schools that are shining in Monroe County and you guys want to talk about how great they are, but, they don't have the high numbers.
Well, Highland got an F, and I don't see their school getting disrupted like ours is.
Right.
Oh, it's going to.
I'll be switching schools again.
What gains were even made at Clear Creek when this program was implemented there?
Yeah, why did she get to do it at our school?
Do we have the statistical data on that?
Is there unstated interest in having parents go to charter schools? Because that's basically what this is coming down to, is that parents are saying, I can't go to Highland Park and I can't go to Fairview. I guess I'll have to go to a charter school. Look, Seven Oaks Classical is about to get a charter. Let's go there. Or maybe Green Meadows is reapplying. Can't wait for that. And that is absolutely not what I want, but it's really pushing the hand right here.
So all we're asking actually is to restore our kids back in class and start at at the end of the year where we have all summer.
And tell us about,
because our kids are turned upside down, and I don't know if you have kids yourself, but as a parent, you would feel like we do.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm not going to have my kid go to school crying.
Yeah, they're not going to go
in first grade.
That's not right. Why do that to our children? And no notice. That is so upsetting. You guys have no idea what it's like when you've got a kid coming home from school who's crying because things have just been changed all of a sudden.
And it's not just about friends. I mean, everybody can make new friends. It's degrading. It's self-esteem.
They're confused.
Self-esteem is so important at this age.
Confused. They don't know what they're going to do next. No. We open enrolled in there. I'm an art teacher at IU because the Artful Learning program is there, so I could be supportive of that, to be part of that community. And it's fun. I haven't seen it happen at all for my child.
We just need a new
I haven't
principal.
been approached. I've been offered my services to help them. They haven't approached me.
Yeah, she doesn't talk to you. She doesn't do anything.
It's ridiculous.
Can we also please remember that we had a new principal named Tommy Richardson who disappeared one day, and we were never given even one single explanation.
I know why you
left.
left,
I'm sorry,
but
it was personal. That was our explanation.
We weren't even given a note home.
We need another one. He never said goodbye.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, it was difficult to accept a new principal. Karen Adams held that place
Yes,
down.
she did.
She had everything mortared.
And Miss Litz,
perfectly.
she was good too.
And we've always been doing small group times with our children. We've always had tier groups and power groups and small time for them to have their reading and their math and whatever it was. And now we think that we need to just erase all of that and start all over.
We have Title I. That's what we should be doing.
And it seems like we're being passed around like a hot potato. It's Fairview, the failing school. Let's just do whatever.
Is it really that hard to put us back in our classrooms like we should be? Is it really that hard?
I'm sorry.
Is it really that hard to
not.
put
We will
parents?
have that happen. We will stay here and we will make our case until that happens.
We can do injunction.
Yep.
I'm listening. I appreciate your input. I am going to go through a series of meetings. I think we owe that to all of you. And I am taking all of this, and I appreciate you sharing your specific concerns with me. That is very helpful. And I can't tell you enough that we will be looking at all of this. My hope was that we could try this and get through May and reevaluate.
No. How about no?
I hear you.
How about the whole school closing down?
I speak as a parent whose daughters are actually almost comfortable with the change and who are still at their level. And I don't care. I want my daughter put back with her school mom so that I don't have to spend 2 hours a night telling her it's okay and she will still see that teacher. I want my eldest daughter put back with the teacher that she has developed a loving working relationship with. And that says, I have nothing against the teachers they're with now. They've both worked with them in the past. And I know that they are loving and caring about my daughters. But I want my daughters put back. And I want it done at the end of today. And I know you can do it because you did it Friday.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I don't think the sound education model at Fairview is, hey, let's give it a go for a few months and see what happens.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Anywhere. Yeah, anywhere. Because it wouldn't happen
and
anywhere
else. And you can have
just
these meetings about all your data and stuff and
show it to
then
us.
Make the change.
Yeah.
Not
And show it to us.
have the change and then the meeting.
Tell us where your data comes from.
Yeah,
but first,
Miller was able to write all of us, so maybe she could send us, I don't know, all of the peer-reviewed studies that she used to establish this plan, or
In the Herald
I would really, really love to know where that 40% graduation.
I do too.
I figure if you can figure that out, you must be a mastermind statistician,
My
because I
dad
don't
came
know
from
how
there, so I
in
wanna
the
know
world
too.
you would gather that data.
I think that's a really good question, and let me go ahead and respond to that one, because I can do that one, okay? What we did was take children who graduated from Fairview and went through our entire system. So any child who left our system, and I think you all know that every child has a student number, so we're able to identify that because the state assigns those numbers. We're able to identify those children who went through Fairview and went through our entire system and graduated or didn't graduate through our cohorts in our high schools. So what we did was
through
look,
Fairview?
Yeah,
excuse me, if I can just get through.
I'm asking a clarifying question.
So what we did was take those students who went to Fairview and went through our system, and if they graduated or did not graduate, and that's the percentage.
From when to when?
From when?
How did you start
this?
attend
Artful learning
Fairview?
has just been
What
implemented.
year did it just started? How do you
will-
gauge if Artful Learning students are graduating when they're just now maybe making it into junior high and high
And you're
school?
absolutely right. We didn't have the Artful Learning
Well
children
then,
going
how
through.
can you just
So
change
it's
it?
erroneous
Fix what
information.
you
It's wrong.
Fix what you did wrong.
So is it fear-mongering then to spout out that number?
Yes.
Yes.
You're misleading
Yes.
the community with information like that. You're misleading.
Just
Yeah.
don't sweep stuff.
I mean, I don't
under the rug.
expect anything less.
You
but-
asked me how that was determined, and I'm giving you that information.
So it was determined crappily, if
Yeah.
that's a word.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
Pull the number out of our
okay.
butt.
So I just want to make sure we're clear, because I know we're all upset. What we would like is
What we want.
what we want is this to stop, because the more meetings and the more information that we're going to get,
It's more anger.
I'll hear that after this stops. And I think all of us will hear that, and we'd love to have meetings about this after this stops and how we can move forward together in the fall with the new principal.
That'd be great.
That's what we want. I don't know if we
that'd be
really
great.
need to have more conversation about it, because we don't want more information. We don't need more information. We just want this to stop, and then to approach us and the teachers to have meetings forward. That's all I think. So
And
just
I
so you're
appreciate
clear.
you making that
That's
very
all.
succinct.
That's exactly
Thank
what
you.
we want, and I don't necessarily know if we need anything else right
No,
now.
we want to stop immediately though.
I think we're good.
So thank you.
I appreciate that very much, and I do appreciate your involvement for your children at Fairview. Thank you very much, and thank you for meeting
you.
with me. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.